Okay. I think we're live. I think we're live. Sometimes with this new platform, yeah, okay. I got the little notification, so I guess we're good. Hello. Happy Monday to you. Welcome, welcome. Super excited you're here. As you're coming in, tell me where in the world are you? I'm in Tampa, Florida. It is a little bit chilly today. And I had a special guest that was supposed to come on and join us today, but she hasn't shown up. So I'm thinking that maybe she forgot, or because she's in a totally different time zone, like down under. She's from Australia. That perhaps she got her time mixed up or something. So we're going to proceed without her. And if she pops on, then all the better. So today I wanted to share 5 tips to create the right thinking and get rid of the stinking thinking so that you can create massive success in your business in 2020. And, mindset is one of those things that everybody talks about, but nobody really puts core things in place, I think, to move your mindset into a more positive direction. So I want to share some of my best tips with you, my best strategies, things that I've had to learn over the years, 28 years of being an entrepreneur now. And it's hard sometimes to get out of our own way. So I want to share some of my strategies with you. And hopefully they'll help move you forward. For those of you who might not know me, my name is Kim Garst, and I'm an online business strategist. I love, love, love helping others shorten the learning curve and leveraging the power of digital and social media to grow their businesses. I'm just going to say hello to a few people. It looks like we have Sharon in the house. Hello, Sharon. Great to see you. We have someone from Frankfort, Kentucky. How's the weather there? I'm just curious. It's a little chilly here in Tampa. And then we have somebody in South Dakota. So Sharon, real quick, just curious, is it chilly? Do you have snow on the ground there? My husband had a flight this morning to LA, and he had a layover in Denver, and he said there was snow on the ground there. I'm like, ooh, I thought it was cold here, but no snow here in Tampa. And we have Darcy from Ontario, Canada. Hello, Darcy. Love the cute little picture of your puppy there. And then we have Jean from Cocoa Beach. So, all right, Jean, is it a little chilly down there, or is it just up here in Tampa? And then we have, Kevin is in Tampa. It's a little chilly, right? Like, if it wasn't for the wind, maybe it wouldn't be so bad, but it's a little bit nippy. Yay, Lisa. Oh, sweetie, it is so good to see you. I wish I could see you in person. Are you coming to Social Media Marketing World this year so we can sit down and have a chat and catch up? Let me know. So Sharon's saying it's 30 degrees. That's okay. So I'm going to stop whining. That's a lot cooler than it is here in Tampa. Oh, 12 inches of snow. And then Sharon says, out west by Rapid City, Spearfish, they got more snow. Whew, goodness. Yeah, that's chilly. So I've got my fur-lined hoodie on today. I feel a little silly, but it is what it is. So I want to start with, yay, she's here. Okay, excellent.
Sorry, tech problems.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm so glad you're here. So everybody, let me get this off the screen. So I want to welcome everybody. Say hey to Narelle. Narelle she's a rock star, and she didn't know she was a rock star until recently, but she's gotten there. She really is. She is a rock star. She has she has her personal brand, which is NarelleTodd.com. So you can definitely check her out. And she has her primary zone of genius is basically helping helping authors create bestsellers. Anybody out there want to become an author? or are you an author, but maybe your book wasn't as successful as you wanted it to be, then you need to talk to Narelle because she's got it going on. So Narelle, how much, and from a dollar perspective, have you been able to create for your clients?
Wow. And that was one of the interesting things was when we actually did the math on that. So we've sold over 5 million books, and audio books is probably up around the 500,000 mark now. And so all up, it's, where are we at? Quite a few million. In revenue. So yeah, it's pretty amazing what our authors are able to do.
Yes, it's pretty amazing. I just, and interestingly enough, sometimes we don't look at what we create or help our clients create as a sense of our own accomplishment. Because it truly is. And that's part of the mindset piece, right? I mean, that's what I call stinking thinking. We don't think of it from that perspective, but we do have to have some ownership of that because that's the value we bring to our clients. So everybody, welcome Narelle. We got off to a little bit of a late start getting her in, but we got her, and I'm excited that she's here because you guys are going to get some, not just me telling you some stuff, because I mean, I can do that, and that was my intention, but I think when you can hear it from somebody who's recently been through some of these things and how she's made the shifts, it makes a big difference. So I just have to share this real quick because this is hilarious. So, wow, Kim is old. That has to be a response to me saying I've been an entrepreneur for 28 years. But that's okay because you've heard that with age comes experience, and definitely have had a lot of that. So and then we've got April says my husband uses that term stinking thinking. Yeah, so I'm all about kicking the stinking thinking to the curb. So yes, Lisa. So Lisa,
yes,
being a fellow Aussie, this is Narelle. Narelle, meet Lisa. She's amazing. You definitely want to connect with her. Lisa has been in my inner circle for years. You might have seen her there because Narelle's been in my inner circle before she became a mastermind client. I
think Lisa is in Cairns, in Queensland. From memory? From the inner circle. Yeah.
Maybe so. Lisa, you just pop that in if you are. I don't remember. So Sharon's like, thank you. I am young at heart. So just as a quick aside, I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, but those tests that come around that like test you to see like what age bracket you are. So boom, I test out as a millennial, probably because I'm so techie. Like that's the only thing I can, because like I don't necessarily think like a millennial, but I guess I engage like a millennial. So it's all good. All right, so let's get moving. So I have a couple of 5 tips, and then I want your take on them, Narelle, if you don't mind. So the first one was, and I think this is so important, although it's one of those things that we don't give enough life to, I don't think. And it's thoughts are things. I mean, there's a book out there on it. There's or a lot of famous people will tell you this, thoughts are things. But I just love your perspective on that, like, and how it shifted over the course of like the last year.
For me, I would say the biggest shift was thinking from, how do I operate in my business? How do I do all the bits and pieces in my business to actually changing it to I'm the CEO of this business? Totally different perspective when I came at it from that viewpoint. And it then became, okay, I'm the big picture person, and I need to start to drill this down into, what are the things that need to happen and be done, and who can I bring into my team to do that. And, in the years prior to that, so I've been operating in my business since 2006 in a couple of different businesses. So this is probably the third or fourth. And, you pick up things as you go along, but that one had probably not kicked in until the mastermind, and in the very first session, that first, weekend that we did, it was a random comment. As is. And then everything just went woof. And I remember just sitting there going, this is about me and how I've been thinking about this. And so I need to change how I think about most aspects of my business. I was on track. We were getting great results, but it was still me in it. And I needed to bring myself out of it. And so this year has been very much about doing that.
Basically it's about reframing how you position yourself and how you think of yourself in your business. And I think it could go, and I love that. That's such a big view of that thought in very practical terms, because I would bet you, and I would love your all's take if you're watching, how many of you guys feel like you're wearing all the hats in your business, like Narelle just talked about? She's like, okay, and I'm just going to just quickly say, okay, I was the bookkeeper, the Facebook ads person. I was having to do the web development, and service the client. All the things that we do when we're just on our own. And sometimes it's about just reframing it and saying, okay, what do I have to have if I really want to really want to have a growth mindset? How do I bring myself out of that, up over your business instead of in your business, so that you can start putting those things in place? And it is a shift. It's a huge shift, I think. So I love your answer. That was so great. Such a great response to that concept of understanding that the way we think about our businesses is the way our business grows. So if your business is not growing in the directions that you want it to, I'd be willing to bet you it's because you've got some stinking thinking.
Definitely.
Yeah. So my second strategy, or from a standpoint of really understanding that there are hard choices that we have to make when it comes to the way we look at our business and the way we think about our business. And if you don't think about your business from a growth standpoint, or you're just kind of doing the day-to-day stuff, maybe you have a hobby instead of a real business. So I'm just here to just throw some tough love at you. And I think you have to actively choose growth, and then you have to take massive action. Would you agree, Narelle?
Definitely. And in that, I would say you need to choose growth in one direction or one area and focus on that. It could be 3 months. It depends what it is. It could be a 3-month focus or a 1 year or longer, but you can't kind of focus on all the things you might want to. And I don't know if anyone else has that issue like what I do. It's like, well, I can do this and this and this. And, it'd be amazing if, this part I'd really love to grow in the business, and this part. And it was, getting back to the thinking was, once again, just choose one. It may not be right. It may not be the best, but just choose one, and then look at that, put your plan in place, and just grow that aspect. And then once that's growing, you then grow the next one, and you grow the next, part. So to a certain extent, for me, probably was a bit of paralysis analysis sort of stuff. It's like, well, the pros and cons of, should I grow in this way or in this way? And instead just go, right, let's just choose one. And that's what I've done. And and this has happened.
I love that. I agree. I think so often we think it all has to be done instead of really just focusing in on the one thing. And by the way, if you haven't read the book, The One Thing, I recommend it, because it talks about this very concept of really keying in on the one thing. And then, and some people will tell you, just to do the one thing for a year, because otherwise you're not going to know for sure if it's going to work unless you do it. Yeah. I love what Narelle said, though, because sometimes it's maybe that one thing doesn't require an entire year. There are some things in your business that don't necessarily require that much time to flesh out and see if it's actually going to be your thing. It's going to create the revenue you want or whatever. But I think that we sometimes get wrapped up in trying to be everything to all people instead of just really keying in on what our zone of genius is, and then how we sell that, like who needs it, matching it up to who needs it, and that kind of thing. Yes. I also think that, just following along with some of this, and I'd love your thoughts on this too, Narelle, because I bet you'll say, man, I resemble that remark, because I've been that person. Is you said analysis paralysis, but I think we, along that same line, sometimes we are in learn only mode, and we think we don't know enough yet. So we need to know more before we take action, right? Have you ever found yourself in that boat? Because I certainly have.
Oh, absolutely. And that was one of the things I also did this year, was I actually stopped learning unless it applied to the one area I was looking to grow my business. And very much, I think we get caught up in that it's, we need to know more. We need to have everything. We need to be up to date with everything. The reality is it's impossible to be up to date with everything. But you can be up to date with, your little slice that you've gotten. And that's important. I think lifelong learning is essential. But at the same time, we need to draw the line and say, I do know enough. One of the things you used to say to us was you only need to be, 5 to 10 steps ahead of the person behind you who you're guiding or, coaching, whatever. And looking at it from that perspective, it's like, well, heck, I do know a lot, to somebody, say, who's just starting out and is going, well, how do I put the pieces together? I can help with that. No problem at all. I wouldn't even need to study to find out, how to do any of that. I know that. So it's about, I think, respecting your own innate knowledge and experience, and saying, hey, I have something that somebody else can learn from me, and, go and share that with them.
And you do. We all do. Everybody has a zone of genius. I spoke about this a little bit on last week's Facebook Live too, where, we all have God-given talents. Some of us don't leverage them. We hide them. But if you'll let them out and let the sunlight, in, guess what? They grow. They multiply. Because that's what happens. So I just want to say, hey, I see Eileen is here. Hey, Eileen, super glad to see you. And then, hey, Chad, mindset kills me way too often. Yeah, well, that's what the next one's going to be, a real one. Simply because I think that if we master this piece, then we can really start to get a handle on our mindset. So I call it talking back. So have you ever had these like two little devils? A little devil on this side and a little angel on this side. One is saying, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And the other one is the little devil saying, oh, you can't. Like, so-and-so does that so much better. Or you're not smart enough. Or, let's go on live. You've got a scratchy voice, or your nose is too big, or whatever. I mean, it's that little negative Nelly voice that is constantly niggling at us and telling us that we're not good enough. We can't do it, blah, blah, blah. So I would just like to encourage you to talk back. So what's your thoughts on that, Narelle? Do you feel like that, like, say, if you get up tomorrow, and you want to tackle something, but you've just got this little self-doubt in you. Have you ever had that happen? And do you find yourself talking back to it and turning the narrative around?
Oh, definitely. a personal story here. I had the privilege to sit down and have a group chat with a Delta Ranger. And he was telling us the story of, I hope I got it right. He was going on a hike, and it was part of the assessment as to whether he could become a Delta Force person. And he said they would take them along and say, okay, you need to get to this point. And they'd get there, and then they went, oh, no, only joking, that's not the end. You need to go 5 miles further. And they kept doing that. And, guys would eventually just break down and say, this is not for me. And they would exit the program. And what he did at one point was he sat down and he put a photo of his wife up on his forehead, and he said, this is for her. And so he kept going. And the next stop was actually the last stop, and it was the actual end of that exercise. And that story has resonated with me to such an extent that, this year in changing out the focus of the business and building it up, creating, the training courses and webinars and recording video and all sorts of stuff, that takes a lot of work. And it looks easy from the other side, but once you get into it, it's like, wow, what have I actually done? And I use that image of me sitting on that rock, and my own personal a reason of why I'm doing it is the photo that I put up, on my forehead, and go, okay, it's just one more step. And then it's one more step. And the voices, those two competing things, are literally don't exist. It's just, it's so hard to explain, because prior to this, they've always been there. And now it's just a knowing.
Yeah.
I can't describe it any more than that this is the right path. This is the right track. What I'm doing is right. I know what I'm doing. I'm phenomenal at what I do. It's a blessing to share it with other people. And that's what I should be doing. That's what I'm here for and meant to do. And, this stuff has stopped. Now, I still do stuff like I use HoloSync. It's like a guided meditation sort of thing. I still use that. But a lot of the thing, and I'd been doing that prior, to this particular meeting. And but nothing had ever quite silenced it. So, I think use all the strategies that you have to silence those voices, and just know that something will click somewhere along the line, and it could be, you're totally not expecting, but it will happen. And I think that's, you then, and know that at that point, you then just embrace your power. You just know. So if the voices are talking to you at the moment, I would say that's okay. And I think that's quite normal to have those two things going. It's part of the journey and the learning process to get to where we need to go to get to the next step. And then, the next step, there's then something else that we need to learn and discover for the next step. So embrace those two things, be grateful for them, and know that when everything comes together, they will go away.
I love that. So I thought it was really interesting that Narelle was very cognizant and shed some boundaries around the story. But I wanted to, because my husband doesn't like me sharing a lot about him, so in the social space. But the story she just shared was actually my husband, who's retired from the military. And I've had him speak at my mastermind events every time, I think, so far. And simply because he brings a lot of amazingness, mostly from a mindset. He's done mindset his entire career, because so much of the military is just that, is mindset. And so the story of the photo, though, we're high school sweethearts. And so he had a picture and has had it and carries it to this day, a photo of me. I think it was our senior year photos, and he laminated it. And then it had, because it got so bad, because it's been like, I don't even know where it's been. It's probably been in some really bad places. But he duct taped the edges to keep it from getting super yucky. And it's still kind of super yucky, but he wouldn't get on, he wouldn't fly, he wouldn't do anything without that photo. And so he literally does take that photo everywhere still to this day. So it's kind of an interesting thing. But I love that she shared that, simply because sometimes you don't know the stories that make the most difference for others. When you share a story, you don't always know who's listening or what impact it's going to make. So don't hold back your stories, because they're pretty powerful.
That's true.
Little sideline there, but thought I'd throw that in. So talk back, guys. So if you get the negative Nelly voice in your head, then talk back. And the biggest thing that I really got, that I personally took away from what Narelle said, is understanding that this is a process, and that you're going to build on all of it. I didn't start out where I'm at, and Narelle didn't either. And honestly, I know I'm not where I need to be yet. So I've got growth. Narelle is saying, yeah, we've got growth. But there's also so many that are still wallowing in the negativity, and I don't have enough of verbiage. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough this. I don't have enough that. Instead of, how do I, reframing it and repositioning it so that you can turn it into a positive instead of a negative. So talk back is one of my messages to you. Baby steps get you there. Now, Narelle touched on this a little bit. In fact, she touched on it quite a bit, and she didn't know, by the way, all these little nuggets. I was just like, I'm going to throw them at her and see what we get. But I think sometimes, and again, Narelle, I want your take on this, because I've seen so much growth in you this year. A lot of it has been mindset, but it's also translated directly to your bottom line, which I think is so fabulous. Sometimes it's connecting the dots in our business. We'll have pieces and parts, and yet we trying to do it all. Therefore, nothing gets done, right?
Yes.
So when we're looking at all the stuff, we get up every morning, we're looking at all this stuff, it just seems overwhelming. And we never really look behind us to see how far we've come. We're always looking at how far we have yet to go. So from a standpoint of the baby steps, though, and honoring them and understanding that you can do massive things if you just consistently show up every day. I've heard you say that before. So that's really one of the reasons I wanted to pull this into the conversation. So what's your thoughts on that?
My belief is that the gold is actually in the boring, well, I call them the boring things that we do every day. Mm-hmm. And that's what, I say to my clients. You just got to keep showing up every day and doing the same things often, day after day. But that's the gold. It's not chasing, the new thing or whatever. It's, there are steps that we need to do consistently, and they're often the hardest for creatives and for entrepreneurs to keep doing, because who wants to do maintenance when we can go do new creative things? I struggle with that one. But, there are people who love to do that. So, and that's part of what, I've been recognizing is hand that off to people who love maintaining and doing consistent things all the time. I have my to-do list of things. So, and I work on a project basis when it's my own work. And so I have all the to-dos that need to happen, or all the tasks that need to happen. I keep that list until I've actually completed, because then each day, I get up and I go, wow, I've done 3/4 of this list. And, so there's just a little bit to go. You can do it. Keep on going. This happened for me on Sunday. I'm filming a new video series for some training that I'm doing. And it was like, oh, my gosh, not more. And it was like, but look, you've done all of this. So that's a strategy that works for me, to remind myself, look at all you've done. You've just got this little bit to go. And, of course, the other way I play it is, if I'm just starting, is look, how fantastic, you've got all these new things you get to do. Then it doesn't become like, oh, look at the size of that, that list you have. So I play with it a bit, but I definitely keep the whole thing until I've done, so that I can remind myself either, yay, let's go get this, or look at how much you've done. There's just a couple more things to go. You can do it. Keep in there.
I love that. And so just curious, for those that are watching, if that sounds like an amazing strategy, like keep a running list of things that you're doing, even on a daily basis, especially if it's project based. Like if it's a specific client, then you can kind of get and I'm like, man, I need to do that, because I think that would be really helpful. One of the things that I started doing was literally popping in each and everything that I did on a daily basis, even if it wasn't on my list.
Yes.
So, again, from a standpoint of how much we do on a daily basis, that never makes our list. We get sidelined. It needs to happen, but yet we don't have it on our list. So when we get to the end of our day and we're like, okay, and there's two reasons that this could be powerful for you if you do this. One, it helps you to see what you did during the course of the day. Two, it helps you see what you did during the course of the day. And if you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, then it allows you to say, okay, wow, I've spent 3 hours today doing something $10 an hour work kind of thing,
Yes.
So it has a dual purpose, and highly recommend that you start leveraging that. And if that sounds like a great strategy, or if you have a strategy that you would like to share, please drop it in. I mean, we don't know it all. We're just sharing the things that, have kind of worked for us. And we'd love to hear from you if you have something that, works for you as well. So the last thought that I have for you, and this is hard to embrace sometimes, is to get help if you need it. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I'll give you another of my husband's sayings. My sister calls them Joe-isms, or Joe sayings, and she's got a whole list of them. But I've heard him say this for years, and he'll say that you can't get to your limits on your own. Somebody has to take you there. Now, in his definition of that, from a military standpoint, it was always about pushing someone's mindset to a place where they could perform in an incredibly stressful situation at a very high level. But from our perspective as entrepreneurs, I think there's a lot to be said for understanding that it is hard to get to. We can't see the forest for the trees lots of times when we're in our own businesses and we're working in them. Even if we think we're on top of the business, it's hard. Sometimes it just takes that 1 degree shift, or that 10-degree shift, or that one big idea that you haven't had yet, that somebody else points out to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, right? So what do you think about that, Narelle? Because I feel like that has happened to me more times than I can count, when I surround myself with people who are some steps ahead of me, maybe not. Sometimes it's not even that there's so many steps ahead of me, but they have a knowledge base that I don't have, and I want to know what it is, right?
Yeah.
So, and you've experienced it, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely part of the attraction of a mastermind, and why I started looking for one last year was I wanted to be challenged, because I knew where I was, that wasn't happening. And, it's I have a team, but we don't work in the same location. So, there's a physical aloneness in the business. So, that was also a challenge. And, so you don't have the, to bounce ideas or even just to, nut out a problem sort of thing. Definitely, mindset, all of those things, you can't do those things on your own. It's impossible. So, for anyone who is looking to move to the next level in your business or even just get your business moving, you need help. For me, a mastermind was perfect because you got one-on-one time, and, I had invested in other courses or programs where you had group training, but it's never, it wasn't what I needed. I needed somebody to actually say, hey, this is my specific situation. Here's what you need to do, or have you thought of this, and that sort of thing. So the mastermind incorporates, I think, that one-on-one training as well as some group aspects, because obviously there's other people in the mastermind. So you also get that feedback and that bounce back. And, certainly in our mastermind, we had such a diverse group of people from really diverse backgrounds and businesses, even though we're all online, but, all quite different. And, you'd say something and you just see other people just kind of go, what? And you knew that they hadn't thought of that and that I hadn't thought of that, or they were just surprised that, you would even think that way. So I think that's all part of the process of growth, is that you need somebody there to push you and you need to be open to it. So definitely get help, but you need to go in with an open mind as well, because if you go in and, it's like, oh, I'm in the wrong place, or, I'm not good enough for this, you're going to miss so much gold. So just claim it, claim that you're there and go for it, but definitely get help. And for somebody who's, those 5 to 10 steps or more ahead of you, and just embrace the whole experience. Know you're going to feel out of your comfort zone. And, to a certain extent, I tend to think the more uncomfortable I feel is probably the more growth that's happening. So it's a good thing. But yeah, and, obviously do it in a place where there's trust.
Yeah, absolutely. Well. I think I've learned that lesson both ways before. And if you don't mind, I'd like to dig into this just a little bit, because when you started with my mastermind this year, it was a stretch. Mm-hmm. It was a fear factor too. And I think lots of times we do approach that, because I've certainly done that, especially when I first started with masterminds. Now, because I've been in a mastermind personally myself for 7 or 8 years now, probably maybe even 9, I know the value of it. But when you're first getting started, you just look at the investment and you immediately back away because you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't afford that. I can't do this.
Yes.
So it's easy for me to say you can't afford not to. Because I just want so much for people. I want them to understand the value of, it doesn't matter if it's me or somebody else, it's get some help to get you to the next level. But for you, I know that was a fear factor, and it is for all of us. So you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, look, for me, and it was also, I'm in Australia, so it was the conversion to the Aussie dollar, the American US conversion rate. So I had to factor that in as well. So it wasn't just, it's this price. It was also, well, what does that mean in our money? So certainly at the beginning, it was like, how can I do this? And it was, if I keep earning what I'm earning, this is going to be a stretch. But I think that's also where your belief in yourself comes in. I know, and at that stage I knew, but not to the point I'm at now. I knew that I'm an incredibly intelligent woman who has a gift that people want to know, and that I would love to share with the world. So I knew that about myself, and I knew that what I was doing was good. So I had that basis. And it was almost like the fear of, well, can I get myself out there to earn the money to pay, was then where it was at. And it was the realization that it's that fear that was holding me back from actually growing my business. So if I couldn't invest in myself, why would somebody else invest with me? And so why would clients come in? And, my clients were telling me that I was doing a great job. All of those things were there, but it was still about me in my head. And I knew if I didn't get the mindset right, I wouldn't shift anywhere. So it was a big leap of faith, for sure. But it was also based on, I'd say it's probably a 50-50 split at that stage that I could actually do this. But it was also like, well, part of why I'm doing this is to buffer out that remaining 50, is to move it up. And I could do nothing and I would still be in the same spot. Of course, now, we're on the other end of that year. I wouldn't even think about it now. It's a completely different viewpoint to what that investment actually looks like. And probably the most I had spent on coaching and that sort of thing was maybe $3,000 to $5,000, that sort of course program. So this was a lot more or more than that. And now I see it as the thing that's brought everything together for me and has enabled me to jump in the business. If I hadn't have got the mindset worked out, which is what I was able to do in your group, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Which just makes my heart sing.
So I'm very grateful for that.
I'm very grateful to have been a part of the journey. So I just want to just kind of give people a little vision into how that mindset shift, or in some cases mindset shifts, impacted your bottom line. Do you mind sharing that?
Sure. It was around 10,000 a month when I first started, and where I'm at now, I've quadrupled.
So she's quadrupled her business in the last year.
Yeah.
And I just find it I'm serious. I'd love to just get up and do the happy dance, because I just want to celebrate Narelle for, one, understanding that she needed to do something different. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So she knew she needed to do something different. She did some research to figure out what that looked like. And she did she decided, hey, I'm going to, and she trusted me to help her to get to another place. And I honor that. I'm so thankful for that, because it's a journey. And for me, my mastermind is a bit of a passion project, because it allows me to work one-on-one with people. And it's not just, hey, let me put this course together and hope that it matches with everybody's business model, when everybody's business models are different, or their struggles are different, or whatever. And so with the mastermind, it gives me an opportunity at a much higher level to impact business owners. And that just makes me personally super happy. And I'm super happy for Narelle, obviously. And like I say, guys, if you are stuck, whether it's mindset, whether it's, I call it stinking thinking, or if it's wearing all the hats, you don't have enough time in your day. If it is understanding that you don't want to be where you are now in 5 years, what does that look like? Like, you have to make some shifts. And like I said, whether it's me or I would love to be able to at least have the conversation with you to see if I can help. I'm not the match for everybody, but if I am a match and we have the conversation and we say, okay, I can help me from my perspective, I can help you, and you agree that I can help you, then it's worth a conversation is all I'm saying. So if you are interested in trying to find somebody to help you get to the next level in your business, whether it's, and again, it depends on where you are. Everybody's got a different struggle, but just go to kimgarst.com/mastermind. Set up a call. Like I say, it's free. It doesn't cost anything. If we're not a match, we're not a match. But I'm super excited that Narelle booked a call last year. We had a conversation or two. I think we might have had a couple of conversations before she took the leap. And honestly, she took a huge leap of faith, because she was in a place where she wasn't sure she could afford it, but she did it anyway. And having been in those shoes before several times, now I know that whoever I invest in from a mastermind position is going to give me a return of at least what I pay into it. I've never been in a mastermind except my first one, where I didn't massively get massive return on the investment. But it's hard for us to see it sometimes, when we're coming at it from that, whether you call it lack mindset or fear. I call it fear mindset, because it's scary to make that leap. Yeah. So I'm just thankful. So Narelle, where can everybody find more information about you, connect on social, and that kind of stuff?
Sure. So website-wise, narelletodd.com. Is the best place, and then there's various offshoots from there where we can connect. And on social media, make it easy, it's Narelle Todd on Facebook and on Twitter.
That's awesome. All right. Well, excellent. Thank you for joining us today, and thank all of you for being here. And hopefully you picked up some great tips. And if you don't mind dropping them in, what was your biggest takeaway? I always like to get a sense for like what resonated, like what did you hear that you're like, oh, man, that's relatable, or I needed to hear that, or everybody picks up something, a nugget here and there. I'd love to know what your nuggets were. And Lisa just says, wow, that's amazing, Narelle. Congratulations. Yes, she's had an incredible year. Yep. And I can't wait to see what next year is going to bring, because the building blocks that she's laid this year are going to just be phenomenal for her next year. All right. Yeah. So here's a great one. Don't wait until you think you know enough. Yes, Darcy. Yes. Honestly, I don't think we ever know enough. I say I'm a habitual learner. Is that the right way to say it? That sounds kind of like habit forming. Yeah. I am definitely an avid learner, just simply because I don't think I'll own it. I don't think I ever know enough. Like, what else? There's got to be another strategy, or there's, something else that I need to soak up. The more you learn, the more touch points you have, right? Yeah. So, but that doesn't mean you can't monetize where you are. You absolutely can. Thanks for sharing that, Darcy. All right, guys. Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. And I hope you have a blessed rest of your day. Take care. God bless.
Bye.